And now we can begin the tutorial. It's going to teach us some of the rules, walk us through how to play. The first thing it says to do is to flip over this card and read the back. Each year, emissaries are dispatched to a chosen region, distributing wooden coins to the local inhabitants. These coins, called squills, hold no value, but they are the only way for the banished to receive a pardon. Exiles must prove their worth. Collect the most squills by harvest, and you can return home. You won't be alone in the hunt. Other exiles will be competing for pardons as well. The laws stipulate that exiles may band together in parties no larger than 4 members, pooling resources to gain a group pardon. You think it's time to size up the competition and maybe find some allies. And then we're instructed to flip hex E2 and place the party token on it, and then that symbol means banish this card. So we go here to this map. Here's E2, and you just want to push down on the right side of the hex, and it pops up. And then you can just grab it and stick it back in there. And there we go. We found the Exiles camp, and we can just move our party pawn right there. You now choose to interact with the big Z pointer on hex E2 by taking the interlocation action. Look through the big area maps and find the one labeled Big 0. It should be the first one just under the active divider, and place it in the play space. And we slip that out. And there we go. There's the Exiles camp. It's telling us that that number there is a song that you can play. I guess if you go to their website, they have like a soundtrack and you can play it once you enter this location. That's kind of cool. And then these blue areas are always little story regions. The red bear tents stand here, flaps swaying lightly in the breeze. As you draw nearer, the din of the camp washes over you. Voices buzz in excitement, swords clang in practice, and as you approach, a mustached man beckons to you. And then that little arrow means you just flip it over, and there we go. We have a little map. Now we need to put our figure here as close to this hex E2 pointer, as they call it. So we're going to put it right there. That's kind of where we enter. And then we see here an event marker. So we need to place one of those exclamation tokens right on there. And there we go. That was the interlocation action. We're now going to talk about non-player characters. So in adventure mode, it's generally free form. So we don't have to worry about turn order or movement points or anything like that. We can just sort of walk around and do what we want. So we're going to come up to this NPC character. We have to be in one of the adjacent 4 spots, and then we can talk to him. A weather-beaten man stands here watching exiles practice. He turns to you as you approach. Now in the multiplayer game, there's a little bit of role-playing that is somewhat optional, but whichever character came up and talked to this NPC, the player to the left of that player would then take this card and kind of assume the role of this character. And they could kind of act things out, and then the players could sort of ask questions, and you could respond based on these prompts that are given onto the card. Now, obviously, we're playing solo, so that aspect of the game, which again is optional, you can decide how much role-playing you want to add into this, it seems. When you're playing solo, that aspect goes out the window. But I think that's okay. I don't think we'll be losing too much. So this guild leader says, after all that training, the day has arrived. Time to get out there and do the guild proud. If you want a little warm-up before you go hunting squills, you can fight the practice dummy one more time. Let me know when you're ready to leave. Right, and then the other members of the party might be like, oh, you mentioned a guild. Can you tell us about that? And then you would flip it over and there's something here with the guild, and then you could respond, the guild was established as a means for exiles to prove their value, in order that they might earn a pardon and return home. To this end, the guild members work hard for the locals, who give them squills. Right, and then Someone in the party might ask, oh, so what are squills anyway? Could you tell us a little bit more about that? And then you'd flip it over and be like, oh, well, squills are wooden coins given to exiles in exchange for help. Your goal is to collect the most squills by harvest in order to receive a pardon. But then someone might ask something like, oh, how do you keep your mustache looking so lovely? And if it's a topic that's not included in one of these, then you go to the any other topic and he will smooth his mustache. That seems to fall outside my recollection. So you could really roleplay that up, or you could just, tell everyone, hey, you could ask about guild or squills or the practice dummy, or we could just leave. I think I will ask about the practice dummy. Hey, what's with those practice dummies over there? I was working on a more powerful dummy, one that would really challenge you, but it's gone missing. Anyway, the old one still works fine. When you're ready, head up to the field and I'll get you going. Now at the end of that one, there's that little blue book symbol. That's a role-playing point icon. And so then who was ever serving as the guide, they call it, the one reading and pretending to be this NPC, they would get to place one of their tokens onto this role-playing spot. Now, since we're playing solo, we're the one who get that token. And that's just something that we can spend in the future to boost like a skill check by 3. And you can see when you're playing solo, you can have up to 3 of these tokens. But if you're playing in a 2-player game, you can only have 2. And 3 or 4-player game, you only get 1. So we can collect up to 3 of those. Not bad. Okay, so the book tells us that we're going to, in the conversation, I think we're going to go check out those practice dummies. While speaking with Thades, he told you to head to the practice field to the north. However, you can't take an explore action unless the map is cleared. A map is cleared once there are no foes and no tokens, event or chest on the map. To clear this area, you need to remove the event token by triggering the event. So because we have this event here, we can't move on and explore some of these other areas. So we need to head over here to this event and activate it. Simply remove that, and then it tells us what card to draw, event 13. So I asked him where he got the fish. The small crowd erupts with laughter as you draw near. A tall man with long blonde hair is at the center of attention. He eyes you cautiously as you approach. It's good to see new faces. Where have you been exiled from? Supposedly the Lunari come from the frozen west. So I'll go ahead and say the mountains. Okay, any answer would be the same response here. Ah, yes, I should have guessed by the smell. More laughter. The man slaps his companion on the back and they saunter off chortling. The crowd begins to disperse. Exiles mill about, tightening packs, sharpening swords, and preparing for the day ahead. Gain +1, whatever that symbol is, and then banish this card. Ah, that's an experience point. Okay. There we go. That's what those markers are for. And we can just pop it in here. Now in the multiplayer game, anytime anyone earns experience, then the entire party earns it. So all the characters are always getting the same amount of experience. All right, now that the map is cleared, you can head up to the practice field. In this example, we chose not to interact with NPC 161 yet. Okay, so we could have gone up and talked to them, but we're going to go and just continue to explore and come up here to that medium 0. Now, when the pointer is in the middle of a square like that, then either that square or any of the surrounding squares, orthogonally surrounding squares, is considered adjacent. You see a small clearing where the ground has been well worked by exiles practicing all forms of combat. All right, you're next. You walk over and take your place. Thades starts the practice dummy. It wheels out from around the pond and it begins to wobble towards you. Start this combat on any space adjacent to starting point X. So we explored to get this new map area. We have a lot to do to get ready for combat. So we flip this over to the combat side. We then go into our card decks and we get out these threat cards, 1 through 12, and then we shuffle them to form a threat deck. We get the 4 hit dice. We take out this tracker, this combo threat tracker. Put those cubes on there. And then up there you can see we're facing foe 0, so we have to take those cards. There's actually 2 of them. Okay, there's our practice dummy. Shows that it's level 0, and then it says 1 time Fig 0 normal size. That means we have to go into one of the special figure boxes and do a little advent calendar style punch out. Let me go grab that. Here we are. This is what it looks like. And there's Fig 0. We'll just punch this out. And oh my goodness. It's our little dummy figure. How cute is he? Says a practice dummy rolls around here, making exaggerated gestures of attack and defense. But now to start the combat, you flip it over and it shows these various hit points. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to hit those in order to take the dummy out. It also shows a lot of information here, which I have no idea what any of that means. That's why we're going through this tutorial. It looks like this hit point right here is special. It has a little blue outline around it, and that means it's an armored sort of spot. And we need to put a blue armor cube on there. When you hit that spot, the cube will come off rather than causing a wound. Okay, so it says, unlike the more free-form turn structure in adventure mode, combat mode carefully tracks turns, movements, and actions. In combat, foes and exiles alternate turns, with play proceeding clockwise around the table. Each player now takes the combat example sheet for their chosen path. And if we were playing with more players, they actually have more copies of this so that each player can kind of work out their combat examples simultaneously. But we don't have to worry about that. All right, well, I have the Path of Shadow combat example. Whoa. Nice, looks like combat is a little involved. There is one of these sheets for every single path, and it wants us to be right there. Combat round begins with the foes going first. That doesn't seem fair. Draw a threat card. I'll set it up according to their example. So we draw, and we get boss or 1 threat. And so we're going to increase the threat marker by 1. Threat is a shared resource among foes, and if there were a boss in this fight, it would activate now because of that boss. Since we're fighting a mob and not a boss, we're just simply going to increase the threat by 1. So the practice dummy is going to activate anytime we draw a card that says mob or all foes. All right, and that's their entire turn. So now it gets to our turn. And we have these 3 markers here on our board. This one here, that's like a triangle, that's a minor action. And then these 2 are like normal actions. And so for our first turn here, the tutorial is showing us that we're going to take a minor action, a basic move. So we would actually take this marker and move it down here onto our feet. Yeah, on our turn, we get 2 normal actions and 1 minor action, and any number of free actions, and you can take them in any order. And a basic move is a minor action that gives 3 movement and generates 1 combo. So we move up our combo marker, and it says, in addition, you can spend 1 stamina point for 2 additional movement points. Okay, so that's just what a basic move does. So now we're going to move, and movement is always counted orthogonally, so no diagonal movement. And the lines between spaces dictates how many movement points you need to spend in order to go through them. So here we can move 1, spend 1 point to go through that little dashed line. This black sort of dotted line there is an obscure border. That only takes 1 to go through. So that's 2 of our movement points. The double line there going up, you can see that log in the picture. That's a difficult border. So that's actually going to take 2 movement points to go across. So we're going to actually spend a stamina point to get that 2 extra movement. So then that's going to be 3, 4. And then we can spend our 5th one to move right up next to the practice dummy. All right, now we're going to take a normal action by taking this and moving it over to our dagger. This is going to be a basic attack. We would then roll our d20. It says that we roll a 4. We would then add our dexterity, which is +1 here, because we have 1 dexterity. So that'd be a total of 5. So you can see on the dagger here, it shows that middle, that's where we are, and then the X is where our target needs to be, and you can rotate that in any of the cardinal directions. So we basically just need to be standing right next to them, which we are. And then we look here at the bottom of our practice dagger, it shows that we can add our dex, and these are some thresholds that we need to meet. 2+, we've met that with a 5, but we didn't get 12 or more. So we just have reached the 2+ white threshold. And you can see that little mark there, the white mark with the X in it. That is aimed damage. That's what the little X means. So that means that we can apply that to any of the hit points on the practice dummy. So this one, it says to apply the wound to that hit spot right there. Okay, and now for our 3rd action, we are going to do a backstab. We have to spend 1 magic point, shows right there. We would roll our d20. In the example here in the book, we roll a 16, much better than my actual roll. So we'll take it. There it is, 16. Now this backstab lets you make a special dagger attack that deals vertical directional piercing damage to a single foe. In addition, if you're hidden, which we'll talk about later, it says, you'll gain +20 to the roll. Wow. So again, you can see here where we need to be in order to perform this attack. And we've reached the 15+ threshold. So we're going to look at this little diagram here, and this is piercing damage, indicated by the blue diamond highlight sort of around the marker. Oh, and look at this. Actually, these red squares there on either side, that means that in order to perform this backstab, there can't be foes on either of those spaces. So if there was a foe either to the left or the right of the practice dummy, we wouldn't be able to do backstab. That's what the red squares mean. Oh, and actually, we're supposed to suppose that we rolled a 15, and then because it says dex there, we can add our dex. +1. So that's how we get to 16. That's good enough to meet the 15+. So we get the white and the gray attack here. But because this is piercing, going down like that, it means that we start at the top of the enemy and we come down. We're kind of sweeping down with the backstab. So we either need to start in the left column or the right column. So the first hit comes here and it hits that spot right there. And then because we got up to the gray spot, we can do a second hit. It comes down in the same column. It skips the already wounded spot, and it goes here to this armored spot. And normally that would just knock off the armor and not cause a wound. But because this is piercing damage, it actually does cause a wound as well. So piercing damage is a great way of getting through armor. And then because that first area there has that symbol, which means that it's a vulnerable spot or a weak point, then you get to resolve the effect of, hitting that weak point, which is shown here on the card. And it shows that you get +1 threat. There we go. That was our first round of combat. So now we just keep going back and forth. Now it's going to be the foe's turn. We draw another foe card. And we draw this card. Mob or 1 threat. So the practice dummy is a mob, so they get to activate, and when they do, they spend 1 threat. So it's going to spend as much threat as it can, and you can see here on the card, it shows like if it's been 0 threat, 1 threat, or 3 threat. So if there was 3 threat, it would spend all of those 3 threat to activate that bottom spot. But because there was only 2 threat, it's going to spend the 1. So it's always going to spend as much threat as it can to get the best activation. So for this one, those little arrow symbols means that it's going to target the furthest exile within range. Well, that's going to be us no matter what. So then it shows it has 6 movement, and it's going to do a whack. And if you look at the whack grid, it shows where it wants to be in order to perform the whack. And it's not adjacent. It wants to be 1 step away. So it's going to move to get into position. Now, the straight, solid lines around that water means that it's impassable terrain, like impassable borders, and attacks won't cross over that. It can't sort of go around here and go across that water, so it needs to sort of loop around. That's actually 6 movements because it crossed 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that's a double line 5, 6. All right, we can now see that the whack has that little red die, so it's going to roll this red die to do its attack. So we're going to pretend that we have rolled it, and it wound up with that result. So the black square is the location on the body grid that is hit. The squares with pips show the 4 possible locations the die can hit. So this red die was always going to hit sort of the upper body, head, shoulders, or right in the middle. So this attack hit our chest, and we are wearing armor there. We have this practice shirt. It's giving us 1 defense. The anvil shows how many times that shirt can block that amount of damage. So this practice shirt can block 1 damage 1 time, which is going to be right now. So we need to place a wear token on the practice shirt and subtract the defense value from the damage. The armor absorbed all the damage. Any damage you can't mitigate from an attack will cause you to lose HP. And you can see here we start with 3. So this is a wear token, and we just place that on there. But we take no actual damage. Nice. It's now our turn. We return all of our action tokens to a ready spot. Now it's letting us know that we can take minor actions using a basic action token, but not the other way around. So it wants us to do a move. We're going to gain a combo, and then we're going to move 3. So it wants us to move up here. 1, 2. And now for a minor action, it wants us to sneak. You can see there it costs a combo to do that. And then we need to place an alert token on our current square. You can see on the sneak action, we can't have any foes anywhere adjacent to us or around us at all. And now we can move 3 steps or get 3 movement points or pay a stamina to go 5. They want me to move here. And then for our last action, to place out these traps. They can only be placed in unoccupied adjacent regions. So there we go. And if you look at the trap, it will activate if someone moves adjacent to them or onto the trap. That's what that's showing. Great, now it's time for the practice dummy. And he draws all foes. So he's going to activate. When this happens, the order that the foes, if there's like multiple of them, the order is based on the initiative order. That's what that 1 next to the foe on the card means. Okay, they're going to pay that 1 threat. Now, because we're hidden, the foe thinks that we're over there where our token is. So it's going to try to move over to that token to get in position to attack that token. Now, it has 2 different paths that are equally good for it to move. It's going to take 2 movement points to go to the right, and it's going to take 2 movement points to go up. And it could take either path in order to get into position. So when it's equal like that, when it's tied, we get to decide which path it takes. So we're going to decide that it comes up here and hits that trap. We flip the trap to its disarmed side, and then we roll. Okay, in this case, I rolled a 6. The tutorial said I rolled a 12, so we're going to go with that. We would then add our charisma. So we met the 12 plus, so we're going to get to hit it twice. You can see the arrow, it's going up from the bottom. We can pick either one of those. We'll pick this one to hit. And then the second one is moving over like that. And if you can see there on the card, we hit here and then we hit off diagonally to the left and we crossed over that little critical spot. So when you do that, that little arrow shows that you get an additional wound. Right there. It's then going to continue its movement. It's going to trigger our second trap. Oh no, and in this case, we rolled a natural 1. So even though a 1 plus our 1 charisma would be the 2, anytime you roll a natural 1, it's an automatic failure no matter what. So we get nothing. That trap just completely failed. And now the foe is going to try to whack that token where it thinks that we are. But of course, we're hidden and we've moved away. So we just remove that token. It hit the token, and now we're no longer hidden. Okay, we now return our tokens. And we can spend an SP in order to pick up our traps. Now, we don't have any, but let's pretend like we did. So if we had one, we could pick up our traps. And put them back on here. All right, we're now going to use our kunai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We have to spin this marker. This is a ranged attack, which it shows right there. Has a range of 3, which is written there in the bottom right. And our foe is within range 2, because again, we count everything orthogonally. So it's within range for us to use it. Ranged attacks cannot pass through obscure borders. And that's like here, that black dotted line, that tree, right? That would be protecting you from ranged attacks. But because we're at an angle and it's not actually passing through that line, it's just at the corner, then it's okay. Okay, we're going to roll, and oh, what do you know? We rolled a natural 20. Anytime you roll a natural 20, you get 2 combo. Nice. And now you can see here, we're going to be able to get both of those attack, the white and the gray. And that's going to be perfect for us. The X means we can pick our spot. And then 1 down. And we've hit all of their spaces and they're dead. And there we go. That is a victory in combat. That was our little combat tutorial there. And I think it all makes a lot of sense. After completing the combat, we can reset all of our markers here. I assume we reset the kunai. We can remove any wear tokens. The book now tells us that we need to do a combat with the dummy on our own. And so I reset everything, shuffled up the deck, got us back in our positions, everything back to the way it was, and we're going to begin combat with the training wheels off. So the foe goes first, draw the card. Okay, that's just 1 threat. Not so bad, it won't even activate. That's great because I know exactly what I want to do. First, I want to move. Basic move, we get a combo, and then we can move 3. That's just 2. I just want to be there. I then want to sneak, which is a minor action. Yep, nobody's surrounding me. We go hidden, and then we can move 3 steps. Yep, so that's 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We go up next to them. We're sneaking. We kind of hid in these bushes. And that sneak cost a combo. Let's not forget that. And then for my final action, we do the backstab, which costs a magic. Now here's the cool thing. If you're hidden, then you get plus 20 to this roll. So we now roll the die. We're going to get a plus 20, plus 14. So 34 plus our 1 dex, 35. That's well more than the 25 that we need to get all 3 hits. And these are piercing. We're coming in from the top. Just like that. And we hit a weak spot, so that's going to add a threat. But because it was piercing, we got to take off that armor and do a wound in the same hit. And anytime you attack or something like that, you lose your hidden status, which makes sense. So here we go. All foes, so he is going to activate. He's going to spend 1 threat to whack us. For the whack, he wants to get a little bit of distance. This is like exactly what happened in the tutorial, practically. That's his 6 moves to get 1 away from us. And the thwack does a red die. Oh, and it's on the head. Last time they hit us on the armored spot, but this time they're hitting us on our head. And we are not protected there. So we are going to get the 1 damage that it shows there. So we definitely have that combo of sort of move, sneak, backstab. I mean, we could do that again. We have to move first because we don't have a combo. Although the traps were also fun. Now, do we need to be hidden to do the traps? Yes, you have to be hidden. Let's do that. So we're going to do a little move. Gain a combo. We don't even need to... No, actually, we do want to move. Yeah, we'll move back like that. Then we'll sneak. And we'll sneak over there, let's say. There we go. We'll place the 2 traps like that. And we're done. Okay, mob. He is a mob. Once again, going to spend 1 threat. This is perfect. He's going to try to whack us. And remember, he thinks we're that hidden spot. So he's going to move forward. And both of the traps are going to go off because he's moved adjacent. So we'll roll for the first trap. There we go. 16. Plus 1 for our charisma. 17. That's going to give us the 2 hits. Flip that. And then that crosses over that critical hit. So we do an extra wound. And then the second trap. Another 16. Wow. Now this one we won't get to take as much advantage of. So we're going to go from the bottom up here, and that's the first spot. And then the second one's going to sort of miss because it's off to a diagonal. And then he's going to attack that spot where he thought we were. We're not there, and then we lose our hidden. As a reaction, I can spend a stamina to collect my traps. And then let's just throw our kunai or kune. I don't know how to pronounce that. All we need to do, actually, we'll hit no matter what. Yep, 3 plus 1 for the dex. We can target any spot. Last spot, and it's done. Oh, and I can pick them up outside of combat, so I don't need to spend this right now. I just read on the card, once combat's over, you can pick up all your traps, so no reason to spend that. And then, yeah, to use that, I would have to do that. But then when you're done with combat, this resets, but you leave your HP and your magic points and everything as they were. So we're not resetting everything. And then at the bottom here, it shows that when we defeat them, we get a little bit of a reward. So we're going to roll. We are getting an experience point, plus we're going to get a little bit of money. Okay, I rolled a 16 again. That was the third 16 I rolled. That is crazy. And then I keep knocking it over. Well, it was a 16. So that's cool. We're going to get 2K, I believe it's called, but it's the money. And there we go. We just put in our coin purse. And we get an experience point. Awesome. That combat was really fun and intuitive, made a lot of sense. So I think we got a good handle on it. Now that the foe has been defeated, that clears off this map. So we can now explore, like, for instance, these stairs over there. So that's the trick to remember with these maps. As long as there is an event or a foe or something, then you can't just go around and explore and deal with all these things. You have to take care of the foe and the event first, and then you can do your exploration. But because we're done, we can flip this to the adventure side. We can sort of clear these things off. Okay, the tutorial now wants us to move over to these stairs. We're going to get out small. Yep, small 0. You push your way through the bush and find the entrance to a small cave. Though it's not very deep, the far side of the cave is quite dark. Okay, so now because we're going sort of down to a different level, it's unconnected to this upper part. So we can actually put this anywhere. And if you were playing with more people, all the exiles would need to be on the same floor. So if you go downstairs, everyone needs to go downstairs. Need to place adjacent. And there we go. We have a point of interest. So we just need to move over there. You find yourself in a small cave. You can still make out some sounds coming from outside. It doesn't seem like anyone's been back here for a while, but there's some sort of tracks here in the dirt. So it looks like we could follow the sounds or the tracks. Yeah, I think I'm more interested in the tracks. Yep, let's look at that. You see a pair of tracks leading deeper into the cave. Though it's quite dark in here, you think you could search for where the tracks end. Okay, so now we're going to do some searching. So here we have Intelligence 5. This is an attribute check. One exile currently adjacent to the point of interest may make the check. So this is simple. We just need to meet or exceed that check. Okay, we got a 6. Plus our intelligence of 1, that's a 7. We succeeded. It says you search and find something of note. We get another role-playing point. And one time only, gain key 0. Okay, so now we're going to learn about keys. But we've done everything on this card, so we can discard it. Keys are shared among the party unless indicated otherwise on the card. Keys represent special key items or information the party has gathered and are often used to complete quests. Most key cards have trigger text, which is a specific instance of text that you look for on another component. When you interact with the component that has the specific text, the key card will tell you what to do. Notice the trigger text on key 0. Guild leader, I bet his name is Thades. Like Hades. Yeah, I'm gonna call him Thades. Guild leader Thades. This is the text you need to find on another component in order to trigger this key. So we found the advanced dummy that went missing. We decide to come back up here, talk to this guy, and now we can draw event 0. You explain to Thades that you found his missing dummy in a small cave near the practice field. Ah, so that's what happened to it, eh? Must have gotten something wrong to wander off like that. Well now, says Thades, I don't want to show any favoritism, but I had a little practice gear left over, so why don't you take it? We then need to banish key 0, and then take all 8 straw pathless items, divide among exiles as you see fit, gain an experience, and then banish this card. So here we go. These are those items. Okay, let's not forget our experience. We can just flip this over to the 3 side, I believe. Yeah, there we go. So we can just take all of this. Moldy shoes. Damp glove for the left hand. And a moist glove for the right hand. Rotting cuff for the right arm. Greasy. And a weak helm. All right, there we go. We are armored up now. That is fantastic. Okay, so the old knapsack and this potion, they would have to go onto the belt. Now, we already have something on our other belt, so we only have 1 slot. So do we want a health potion or a stamina? And then the question is, can we, like, put stuff in our inventory? All right, I've looked over these 2 things. I think I'll take the potion. It's just a healing potion. And I'm not sure if I can place this knapsack into my inventory. I think I can. If I find out later that I'm not allowed to do that, then I'll get rid of it. But for now, I'm just going to throw it in there. And the items that you pick up start full. Okay, now the tutorial says we're ready to leave camp. So we're going to continue our conversation with Thades and choose to leave. He says, are you sure you're ready to start the hunt? We're going to say yes, and so we need to draw that event. The mist of the morning is beginning to clear off. All the exiles, packed and ready to embark, gather around the fire. Thades rises and addresses everyone. This is the moment you've been training for. The hunt is about to begin. Remember to keep your guild pins visible so the locals know you're hunting squills. Having been an exile myself, I've dedicated my life to helping the downtrodden and the outcasts. I'm sure you all have your reasons for being here. As Thades speaks, you think about your own exile. So now we need to draw and secretly read, but do not share with other players, a key card based on our character. So we're Linari. You have a small piece of parchment with a sketch of a dwarf woman, her name, and some specific information about her. Wanted Gorlane Skeel, dwarf woman, all right. 150 bounty on her, alive, all right. Keep this card a secret from the other players for now. There are no other players, so obviously we can keep it face up. Go forth and remember your training, Thades finishes. All right, and now you can see here at the bottom it says NPC 0 transitions to B. So we're actually going to take Thades, right? He starts as A, and we're going to go and we're going to switch him out for B. His disposition has changed. It says, your mentor is here giving last advice and wishing exiles well as they depart. Well, no use waiting around. This region is a good spot for the guild. Lots of people needing help. I just heard of some pests causing trouble nearby, and there's a village not too far from here where you can pick up some jobs. Yeah, let's ask about those pests. The pests were reported near Ragul Junction. To get there, just follow the path west, and then head north once you've hit the main road. Okay, well, we'll want to remember that. Now let's ask about those jobs. The guild has job boards in all the villages and towns. They don't usually provide squills, but if you need to earn some coin, it's a good place to start. Okay, and we'll ask about the village where those jobs are. Fellsworn village is nearby. Just head north across the plains and you'll be at the gates. And fine, let's end it by asking about the region. The continent of Arydia is as diverse as the people who call it home. This thaw, the guild is operating here in the basin. The grasslands here are surrounded by mountains on all sides, thus the name. It was once part of a mighty kingdom that now lies in ruins. And there's that little mark. So we're going to get our third role-playing point. And that's it. We're all filled up there. Okay, so we've pretty much asked everything and got all the information. So we can end that conversation. And we're now ready to leave this location and start exploring the world. We're actually going to place our pawn on this adventure hex. And here's the interesting thing. Now that we've explored like this point of interest here, and we've talked to Thades, then when we put these back in the boxes, we're going to place them this side with the numbers to the right. And that's just going to indicate that we've already spoken to this person or we've already seen that point of interest, etc. And we do the same thing for these maps. You know, rather than have them like this, we're going to put them in back like this with this side face up. So we know that we've already visited that spot. And that lets us know that we don't need to respawn foes and things like that. Okay, with those gone, we're now here on this map, and you can see there's this point of interest on there. So we're instructed to check that out. It says Exiles Camp. A small group of patched together tents is here. Exiles mill about, helping each other as best as they can. Guild actions. Okay, so these are some actions that we can do here at the Exiles Camp. So there's a campsite, rest, draw a day card. The whole party replenishes heart, magic, and stamina. Shuffle travel deck, refresh travel tokens. Stash, stow, retrieve, or sell items for their coin value. We could do path training. So we can level up by spending our experience to level up, max level 4. And then there's the Exiles Market. For 1 coin, we get leftovers, which means we can add cubes to any fully empty potion knapsack items for the whole party. Or we can spend 1 for the smithy, and that would allow us to do 5 repairs. And then it says, new member help. You may take each Exiles Market action for free once per day. So there's quite a lot of things that we can do here at the Exiles Camp. The tutorial wants us to take the level up action because we have 3 experience points, and that's how much we need to spend in order to get to level 1. So we can put our little level 1 marker here. Spend our 3 experience. And then on the back of our character card, it shows the XP cost for each level up. And we could mark this up if we wanted to, maybe with a little pencil and then erase it. And I guess there's copies of this you can get online at their website. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can see here at level 1, we get to mark 1 of these. We get to increase 1 of these, either our hit points, our magic points, or our stamina points. Let's increase our hit points. So our max is going to go up to 4. So we'll move our little max marker there. And then when we level up, we get to refill all of our markers back to their max. Then down here with these attributes, the 6 attributes, we can pick one of them and increase it to whatever the number that's shown in that column. A lot of my skills require dexterity, and so I think I'll increase my dexterity from 1 to 2. We now get to learn a new skill. Now, to learn a new skill, we have to have the prerequisite for it. So, and you can see these arrows showing the prerequisites on our board here. So right now we can only learn one of these 4 that are furthest to the left. I kind of want to play this game all sneaky and stealthy, so I'm going to go for Shadow Step. You just push at the bottom here and it pops right up. We then take this, put it over here. We don't flip it over. We keep it on this side because we haven't mastered it yet. We have to take one of these tiny little tokens and put it in here on the negative side. Now, in order to master this shadow step, we have to complete what it says here on the back. It says to master in your turn adjacent to a foe while hidden. And that little lightning symbol there, that means that when we do that, we will immediately flip this over and activate Shadow Step. That's known as a Eureka moment. And when we have that Eureka moment, we don't have to pay any of the costs that might be associated with the skill. Perfect. So in the future, we're going to want to sneak up behind someone and end our turn adjacent to them. That should be easy enough to accomplish. In fact, we did that with the practice dummy. Now, to find out exactly what Shadow Step does, we have all of these skills on cards. It says, step into the darkness, creeping through the battlefield unseen. So you just have to spend a cube on it, and then you get 2 movement. But if you're hidden, you get 4 movement. And you can treat difficult borders as normal borders. And then we can refresh the ability outside of combat by spending a stamina. So that'll just give us a little bit more movement and maneuverability around the battlefield to set up our traps and our backstabs. Now the tutorial says that we're ready to explore the world map. It wants us to get all 12 of the active travel cards. These should be travel 1 through 12. Then get 3 travel tokens and place them colored side up. So these travel tokens represent the party's hunger, morale, and sense of direction. If one or more of the travel tokens are exhausted, you cannot enter unexplored face-down hexes. So it says here that the most important rule when traveling is to have fun. The second most important rule is you may only travel to an adjacent hex as long as there is a connecting terrain icon. So we could only choose to move to either E1, D2, or D3. For the tutorial, it says to move to D2. Now, normally we would shuffle up the travel deck so we didn't know what was going to happen. But for this example, they want us to take travel card number 1, travel card number 11, and travel card number 12, and put them on top of the deck in that order. So what we do is we kind of indicate where we're going. It's very tiny, but that little symbol there is the road symbol. So we're traveling along a road to get to this new area. And then we're just going to draw the top card of the travel deck. Now we locate the section that has the road symbol on it, since that's what we're traveling on. And it says, you're so hungry, you need to take a break and eat some food. Hunger. Each exile pays 1 stamina, and then we could discard this card. If you don't pay, you go famished. It says exhaust this token, then discard the card. If it's already exhausted, go starving. While travel tokens are exhausted, you cannot enter unexplored hexes. Okay, so essentially we need to pay 1 stamina to avoid that token flipping. And again, if it's flipped, then we wouldn't be able to travel to a new unexplored location. So the tutorial tells us to spend that stamina to keep that token face up, so we will. And now because we've entered an unexplored hex, we get to flip it. Again, you just push on the right side and it pops right up. And there we go, we've reached Raggould Junction. Okay, now interestingly, there are no pointer markers on this tile, so there's nothing to really see here, but there's lots of terrain icons, around the edges. So there's lots of different places that we can go from here and continue our travels. The tutorial wants us to head over here to E1. That has the plains icon on it, so we draw the top travel card. The plains icon is the second one. So it says the journey is difficult and your spirits sag. Frustrated. Each exile pays 1 stamina and then discards this card. If you don't pay, you go downhearted. So it's exactly the same thing. We basically need to spend a stamina or we're going to have to flip the token. I'm currently out of stamina, but let's see, the tutorial might save us from that. And that's what the knapsack would be good for. We could use that to get a stamina so that we could continue on without going downhearted. Now, we haven't learned this yet, but my understanding is that we can switch things out that are in our inventory. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say that we're not going to pay the stamina. We're going to flip this. But that's fine. We still get to this new location. And there we go. We're at the Northern Plains. Okay, this one also doesn't contain any pointers to interact with. We have more terrain icons. But because this is flipped over, we can't enter and explore this unexplored area. The only place we could go is back to the Exiles camp. So that's where we're going to go. We're going to have to draw the next travel card. We're traveling across the plains again, and we have the same thing. The journey is difficult and your spirits sag. Well, this is bad because we are already downhearted and we can't pay the stamina cost, so we're going to be miserable. We're going to have to add 1 copy of Threat 90 to the bottom of the threat deck. But the the tutorial is going to help us out and say that we can pretend like we have 1 more stamina left. I'm going to say that we pay this 1 from the knapsack, which is going to give us 1 stamina. And in fact, let's just go ahead and have that equipped. That would have made sense to equip this had we known what was going on. So there we go. We spent that. That gave us a stamina. Then we spent the stamina to avoid going downhearted. So we're just frustrated. And now we're back at the camp. So we made a little uneventful circle there to learn how traveling works, but that's fairly intuitive. Okay, the tutorial wants us to go back into the exile camp and talk to that one NPC that was there that we didn't talk to last time. Rather than get the map back out, I'm just going to pull them out. It's NPC 161. An elf sits cross-legged in the grass as he sketches in his leather-bound journal. You can tell by his pen that he's on the path of inspiration. Greetings, fellow guildmate. I am Castassin. If you're looking for something or someone, I might be able to help you locate what you're looking for. Okay, so we could talk about the guild or about locating. All right, let's talk about the guild. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm part of the guild, but I'm not in the hunt for squills. Thades lets me tag along to work as a cartographer. I'm an exile like you, but I have no desire to return home. I'm happy traveling with the guild to new regions and mapping out the lands I travel to. Okay, we get a role-playing point, but we're all filled up. So let's ask him about locating. So tell me, how are you able to locate people? Indeed, I practice the art of scrying. Using the maps of the regions I chart, I'm able to determine the locations of people or items of import. I just charge a small fee for my service. Okay, so it looks like for 1 coin, we can do a scry action. We can choose a key card that we have and then draw an event. And then Castassin will discern where on the map we need to take that key. And then we just return that event card. Excellent. Okay, so we can come back here and get a little help with scrying. Maybe he can tell us where this person is that we're looking for on our secret key card. We're now going to learn about resting. So we need to take out the active day cards, which are just 1, 2, and 3, and put them here in order in a deck. We can interact with this point of interest here. First, we can do the new member help. So we can take an exile market action for free, which means we can fill our knapsack back up. And then here at the campfire, we can rest. It says to draw a day card. It's a wonderful day for adventuring. You feel the sunshine warm you as a gentle breeze caresses your face. No special rules. We then get to restore all of our health, our magic points and our stamina. And then we take the travel discard pile and the travel deck and we shuffle it all together. And we get to flip all of our travel tokens face up. And there we go. That is the end of the tutorial. We finished our first day. We're now on to our second day. And we're now off to explore the land and try to get those squills. Now it says that after taking a rest action, this is when you could sort of pack up the game and sort of save it. And it also says that you could just jump in and start playing and just look in the rule book as rules come up that you need to learn, because we haven't learned all the rules just from this quick start. Make sure you come back and see what exciting adventures we get into, but this is going to do it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.